Okay. All right.
April, thank you so much for joining us in this interview series. Our readers would love to get to know a bit of your background and your origin story. Can you share with us the story of how you grew up and your childhood, then what eventually led you to this career as a successful journalist?
I'm in my home that's in the Baltimore area. I grew up in Baltimore and I can't leave. Even as Baltimore is going through some really serious growing pains, really serious growing pains. I can't leave. I love my city and I want to see a renaissance. I want to see a rebirth. Um, I grew up in Baltimore, born here, grew up here, probably will die here. I don't want to leave. I'm a typical kid, I was a typical kid. Played, tried to play the piano, that didn't work. Went to elementary school in the public school system. My parents didn't want me bused, so they moved me into the Catholic school system, the parochial schools in Baltimore. Um, I was that kid whose parents told told her to come in before the street lights came on. Everybody else was playing, and I was not happy about that. But went to church. I was a typical kid.
So what inspired you to become a journalist?
I could never sit at a desk all day. I knew that I was always newsy. I'm not going to say nosy. I was always newsy. I wanted to know how things work, why this was, what if this happens would happen after, what were the repercussions, what were the consequences. I was very inquisitive. And in high school, in high school, I had this burden. I put the burden on myself. What are you going to be? Because, when in 12th grade, you're supposed to know, I'm going to this school to do this. And I was like, I tried computers. I don't think my mind was logical enough to understand technology. It still isn't. Um, I love interior decorating. I said, I don't want to do that, but I love it. Um, I said, I love to talk. I love media. Dabbled in it a little bit, and one thing led to the other. And I'm here. Started out local radio in Baltimore. I started out at my college station, WEAA. Mm-hmm. And and actually my first program director was Congressman Kwesi Mfume in Baltimore. So yeah. And I'm here today.
So you probably have a lot of fascinating experiences from being a B reporter to going to the White House. So can you maybe share with us one or two of the most interesting stories from your career as a journalist?
There are a lot of stories. Interesting stories from the time when Laura Bush took me upstairs to the Lincoln bedroom because I said it was on Halloween. And I said, is it true that there's a ghost in the Lincoln bedroom? She took me upstairs to see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. She says it's very ghostly. She said his skin is kind of grayish in the portrait and his eyes follow you everywhere. And it did. And I saw the Emancipation Proclamation. It's a historic room, but they had, a flat screen TV in there, so it was the craziest thing, but it happened. That was something. Soul food dinner with Bill Clinton, Black reporters and Bill Clinton at a house in DC. He wanted to talk about the race initiative. We had a potluck dinner with the President of the United States. Garlic fried chicken, chitlins, cornbread, collard greens, the fixins, and he stayed forever. And we talked. Those are two things that were fun, but there's a whole host of it. It's 99.9% work, and those little pieces are just the icing on the cake. If there is a cake. So, yeah.
It's great. It's a great one. So there's a saying that sometimes our mistakes can become our greatest teachers. Do you have a story of a mistake that you made when you were first starting and the lesson that you learned from it?
A whole bunch of mistakes. When you first start a new job, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do everything right. I started in a space where I was filling a space for someone who was so beloved. So I stumbled into everything because it wasn't necessarily me. It was the fact that this guy was so loved and people didn't want to help me. But after a while, they learned, you know, say, oh, she's okay. So they started helping me. That wasn't my mistake. But I made a lot of stumbles and mistakes. We all do. I mean, it was so bad the first few weeks. I told my mother, I said, my late mother, when she was alive, I said, I don't like this place. I want to leave. She said, you cannot leave. She said, because if you do, people think you got fired. You have to, she said, you have to stay there at least 2 years. I stayed 2 years plus 23. So it's a weighty job. It's hard. If you don't understand the nuances, a lot of stuff you're grandfathered into, if you don't understand, you miss out. And I missed out on a lot. And now it's like, I know that place like the back of my hand. I don't care what they have new in there or what they do. It's like, it's interesting. You after 5 presidents on one hand, I got 5 presidents, I got a whole handful of presidents. You kind of understand the inner workings of the White House and what happens between the White House and Capitol Hill and things of that nature. So but early on, I stumbled into a lot. I fell, but I got back up. And I'm
Beautiful. So can you share with our readers some of the exciting projects that you're working on now? Maybe tell us about your book.
Okay, exciting projects that I'm working on now. Somebody said I'm booked and busy. I said I'm tired and I want to relax. That's what I am. I am booked and busy. One, I am working on the marketing piece for the movie Till. The movie Till it's about Emmett Till. It's actually about a mother's love and her call for justice for Emmett Till. It's a beautiful movie. And I am so honored that Orion Pictures, Audible, and Spoke decided to choose me to be the person who does the podcast for the movie. That's one thing. Now the book, my book, Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem. We are in pre-orders right now. The book comes out October 18th. I've been wanting to write this book for a number of years before COVID. Before COVID. So yeah, that's telling you that's at least 3 or 4 years. And then all of a sudden, the time was right. Everything lined up. The vice president, Ketanji Brown Jackson, was on her way. We didn't know who she was. You know, we had seen Shalonda Young over at OMB and being interim and then possibly being the head. We saw Marsha Fudge, HUD secretary, Susan Rice, domestic policy advisor. We saw a lot of elevation of Black women. And I said, it's time for my love letter to come to fruition. So HarperCollins, Amistad, an imprint of HarperCollins said, yes, let's do this. And I am so excited about this book. I learned so much along the way. And still, as I learn, I give people information so that they can understand the importance of Black women and their struggles and their fight at the same time. As we struggle, we fight for a better day. That's who we are intrinsically. And it's just amazing. And I'm just really excited about the book. When you write a book, you lose a lot of your life. You're researching, writing, and I've got 2 children. I've got one in college and one in high school, and they demand a lot of my attention. So it was a fight. It was like trying to figure out, it's like my children come first, but I'm like, babies are bright and babies are thinking, you know, but it's here. And it's my 4th book, and I'm just so pleased and just thankful.
Beautiful. So what's the main takeaway that you want your readers to take away from the book? What's the main message that you want them to take?
There's so many messages in the book. There's so many nuggets, news nuggets. It's very newsy. Yeah. But that Black women in this moment are shining. We cannot walk away from it. The first Black woman to be vice president, or the first woman of color to be vice president who identifies as Black. First Black woman Supreme Court justice who was very vocal in her first few days on the Supreme Court, juxtaposed with Clarence Thomas, who really doesn't talk too much. The takeaway is, no matter the condition, no matter the circumstance, Black women are always finding a way to make it better. When Black women go into government, studies have found, and I have stats from a pollster, that when Black women go into government, it's about helping people. It's about raising up the community, versus when men or Black men go in, it's sometimes about power and ego. So it's about a love. When Black women fight, it's for love of community, love for home, love for church, love for schoolhouse. It's about love. The love that they pour out and never really get it back in return when you go out and fight and lift up and hold up and stand up. Black women are leading, well, rising in number. Black women are rising in number as head of household and rising in number as the breadwinner. And with that said, Black women are still very disproportionately a number one group of those in poverty. As we still lead, even though we hurt, we still lead because we want a better day. So no matter what, Black women will stand in the gap. And I don't want anyone to gloss over this moment or just say, oh yeah, that's okay. I want it to be a marker. It's happening, the turn is here. So this book is a marker. It's for history's sake, but it's a good read so people can understand that there is a significance that we must honor and stand with. Because if you don't honor it and mark it, sometimes it falls away. And as a Black woman, I'm like, ooh, have you seen this? Because years ago, we used to hear Shirley Chisholm say being a Black woman is a double whammy. Being Black and a woman is a double whammy. Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to run for president of the United States. And she also said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. She said that back in the 60s and 70s. But guess what? Black women are not bringing folding chairs anymore. We have got solid chairs that we're sitting in. We have built the table and we're convening the table now. So the turn over those decades is here. So I want to mark the moment. I want to mark the moment.
That's beautiful, beautiful.
I'm glad you like it.
No, I'm actually excited to buy it now. You got me sold.
Oh, when you read somewhere, you're like, what? You're like, okay. Yeah. There's some juicy nuggets in there.
I have a lot. I mean, I live in Baltimore, and I not too long ago I was at the White House when the First Lady had a gathering on mental health. With the documentary from Ken Burns. So, but I did. It was like I can't imagine doing that every week. I can't imagine what you did.
How about doing it every day?
Oh, every day, every day. Really?
Yeah.
You got traffic?
What part of Baltimore are you in?
I live in Pikesville.
But not far.
Really? We're neighbors. We should have done this together. At Starbucks.
I actually live in the Jewish enclave. I'm not going to tell you where, but I do.
Fascinating, really.
Yeah, both my houses. Actually, I moved into two houses owned by Jewish people. The first one had the mezuzah. This one, they took the mezuzah. I was so upset. They took all the mezuzahs out.
Really?
I was so upset. Yeah, because I'm a respecter of religion, and that's a blessing. And I'm like, they had them on the bedroom doors. They had them on the doorway of the garage. They're gone. I'm like, why would you take them down?
I'm so sorry. I'm sure it wasn't meant to be disrespectful. They probably just thought you didn't want it.
No, but I am a respecter of religion. I'm a Christian, but I'm a respecter of religion. I kept the mezuzah up in the other house that I lived in.
Wow. I would, if I know the person, I would speak to them. I'd tell them to put it back on.
You know what? If someone ever gave me a mezuzah, I would put it up. I would ask, how do you do it? I would do it.
I'm happy to show you after we talk. I'm happy to give you a link. You could buy it around the corner from shops. There's a store around the corner. You could buy it.
On
And
Ricetown Road.
yeah, exactly. In Reisterstown and Falstaff, there's a store called Shopsy's Judaica Center, and
I know that little, and it's like a Dunkin' Donuts right in that center.
right.
It's just above T-Mobile and the Plaza. I know what you're talking about.
It's so funny that we're neighbors. It's so funny. It's great. Wow.
I drive that. I was down there not long ago because I went to that T-Mobile forgetting that there was a T-Mobile store in Owings Mills. I cannot stand that T-Mobile store in Owings Mills. It's the worst. So I'll go anywhere but that one.
Okay, great. Faisal, I want to respect your time. Let's do the main question from all of our interviews. So this is our signature question. For the benefit of our readers, can you share 5 things you need to create a successful career as a news anchor or journalist like you? 5 things you need to create a successful career.
5 things: integrity, always, relationship with your sources, trust, truth, and to be able to call your source anytime.
What's that?
To be able to call your source anytime.
That's great. That was 5. Okay, good. You're good.
I know I went through them fast.
No, that's great. It's great. You're a pro. You're a professional. Okay. According to a recent Gallup poll, only 36% of Americans trust the mass media. That means about 65% don't trust the mass media. This is disheartening. So, as an insider, what are things that you think that news anchors and journalists can do to increase the levels of trust in the news?
Work hard to get it right every time. And we're not going to be human. But when we make a mistake, own up and retract it, correct it, and tell the reader. I just think we have to remember the basics, because sometimes we go out here being highfalutin and you miss the basics and then you mess up. Just cover the who's, what's, when's, where's, and why's, and build from there. Build the honesty and the truth from there, and not just one source. Get sources from all sides. And for the other thing, have receipts. That's a good piece, because people believe you when the person is speaking versus my sources say all the time. You have to have people who give receipts, who go on the record.
Have names. It shouldn't be anonymous.
You can put that in there for the fifth or sixth one for the other one too. Yeah.
That's great. You say you don't like anonymous sources. That leads to mistrust.
Anonymous sources, but I also have other people to corroborate or to speak on it. I get a lot of, this is off the record now, but I have to go and search it out and find a way to tell it or get someone to corroborate it. You have to, because I'm telling you, people won't believe you. I believe in receipts. I believe in on the record statements wholeheartedly.
Beautiful. Because our last question. So April, you, because of the position you're in and the platform you've created, you're a person of great influence, enormous influence. If you could, a lot of people look up to you. You're really a role model for a lot of people, honestly.
Well, thank you.
If you could inspire a movement that would bring the most amount of good to the most amount of people, what would that be? Because you never know what your idea can inspire. If you could inspire a movement that would bring the most amount of good to the most amount of people.
I don't know. Movement. What kind of movement would I?
Or maybe movement is maybe too big of a word. If you want an idea to become more well known, you want to spread an idea that'll help people.
Okay, so I know someone who says we should empathize with one another, because if we have more empathy, there wouldn't be as much strife.
That's great.
There's And I agree with that. Also, if I had another movement, I'm gonna give you three possibly. Yeah, I know I'm
That's good.
wrong.
That's great. That's
I
good.
should do this for three. One movement would be um, put civics back in schools.
Hmm,
Civics, U.S. history, and U.S. government, because
hmm,
people don't understand apparently.
hmm,
And I see it when I ask questions or have asked questions. Why would you ask that question? Because you know what? The founding fathers put the First Amendment freedom of the press in place for accountability. And then the last thing, if I had a movement, peace. Peace meaning peace of mind, peace of soul, peace of spirit.
hmm,
I'm not talking political and wars and peace. I'm talking peace from within. When you find your inner peace, a lot of things line up and fall in place.
hmm.
And I guess I'm in that point at 55. I'm just every day I just look for a nice candle and some peace. Oh, and that's another thing I forgot. You said, what else am I doing? My fiance and I own a candle company, believe it or not. And we
Oh,
got three stores, and it's
oh,
crazy. We just did it, we did it in honor of my late mother who died of leukemia, who the doctor said should not be using paraffin because she loved candles. They said use soy. And then
hmm,
15 years ago, when she died, we couldn't find soy. So it's kind of my way of working through the grief
yeah,
still 15 years later. And we do candles. And it was a hobby at first. At first, we're like, oh my God, these are great. Now we got three stores building on us. It's
amazing.
crazy.
It's amazing.
Um, it's really crazy. We've got one store at National Harbor. They're also carried at the Reginald Lewis Museum. National Harbor, Mahogany Books is carrying them. And then there's this store in Charlottesville, my dear friend Lynn Goldman Elements on Main Street in Charlottesville. She loves it. And she says, I love carrying Black business. I said, oh, Lynn Goldman, thank you. She's amazing. So, and actually her store is 50 yards from where Heather Heyer was killed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I look for peace, that a movement for peace. I love to just relax with a good candle, a book, or watching TV. It just breathing and just
Mm,
peace. I just want peace. Peace, be still. That's it. A movement of peace, a movement of clarity, a movement of civics, education, and a movement of empathy. Those were, contrary to what people might think, those are what I am, where my state of being is right now.
I love it. April, this is so beautiful. How can our readers buy your book, continue to follow your work? How can our readers buy your candles?
Okay, Jer Candles. We're on Instagram, Jer_candles. And the website, we were so backwards with that. We started going to stores before we had a website and did direct to customer. And it's like we were so backwards, but we're blessed. We've got such a following and people wanting it. And I'm like, maybe these candles will make me retire. I don't know. But I mean, we are doing mass production and we got a great team in place. It's great. I like that's kind of like my piece when I go and try to go into our lab and mix fragrances. But they can go, it's on Instagram at Jare Candles, JARE_candles. And the website is coming soon. I don't even know the website address, but it's coming soon. And then buying the book, you can buy the book anywhere where books are sold. Amazon, Mahogany Books, Barnes and Nobles, Politics and Prose, the Ivy in Baltimore. Yeah, yeah.
It's great. It's beautiful. Well, April, I want to wish you only continued blessings and success and good health. And
Thank
it's
you.
really an honor and a delight to meet you. And if you're free, I'd love to take you to Starbucks one day.
Oh, that's nice. I'm around the one at Corey. I'm around the one on Ricetown Road up by Garrison Forest. So if you're right, yeah, you're in Pikesville, you can just go
Yeah,
up the
not
road.
far, right there.
You're not far from either one, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. But so when will this come out?
So it'll take me about a week. I'm going to transcribe it. I'll edit it, and then I'll send you the drafts. Yeah, and then you look it over when you're ready. We'll publish it. So shortest time will be about 7 days from now. And
I'm excited. So the book comes out October 18th. We're trying to push pre-orders before the book comes out and then orders. So thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
a pleasure, April. It's really a delight to meet you. I
You
hope
too.
to be in touch.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Naval.
All the best.
Yes, be good. Let me know and let's keep in touch.
I would
Okay.
love to. I would love to.
All right. Be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.